Next, we're going to talk with Dr. Donna Nimick. She understands fetal alcohol syndrome. She actually works in it. And we are at, incidentally, Children's Hospital today in the physical therapy department. Is that right?
That's right.
Good. Hi.
Hi.
Glad we could come and visit with you. And Mother's Day is coming up, and maybe by the time you've seen this, Mother's Day has come and gone. But when I got the opportunity to talk with you or someone about fetal alcohol syndrome, am I pronouncing it right, fetal, or is it fetal?
Fetal alcohol syndrome.
I couldn't, I couldn't turn this down. I thought we have to talk about this. It's a very important topic.
Okay.
Right?
It is a very important
Okay, why?
topic.
But we'll tell them, because now we need to know. They need to know.
Well, fetal alcohol syndrome is probably one of the most common causes of mental retardation, and it's 100% preventable.
Mm-hmm. And it's caused by drinking. If women who are pregnant and they drink.
It's caused by the use of alcohol during pregnancy. And the alcohol acts as a substance which affects how a fetus develops in the mom who's pregnant.
Okay, so now, does it only happen with heavy drinkers or people that have, 60 drinks a month, or moderate drinkers or light drinkers?
That's a question that a lot of people ask, and the research is such that we really don't know what a safe amount of alcohol use is during pregnancy. There's many risk factors. The age of a woman, how much a woman drinks, depending on her past drinking history. If a woman drinks maybe one drink at a time versus drinking to get drunk once or twice a week. I mean, all of those things
while you're pregnant.
All of those things come into play in terms of determining who's at high risk or low risk for having a child with fetal alcohol syndrome.
You need to move, John, so she can take edits. Now, so is somebody safe if they just have one drink when they're pregnant?
The risk is lower of a child having fetal alcohol
syndrome.
syndrome.
So then if you have one drink, you won't get fetal alcohol syndrome.
The risk is very low.
I thought, now when I talked to Michael Doris, he said, who's the guy that wrote the book called Broken Cord, right, on fetal alcohol syndrome amongst Native Americans, he said don't drink at all, period, when you're pregnant, because even one drink could cause fetal alcohol syndrome.
If a woman does not drink during pregnancy, she will not have a child with fetal alcohol syndrome.
Yeah, that's good.
But, there's a wide range of how alcohol may affect a developing fetus. Fetal alcohol syndrome is a syndrome. It's a collection of characteristics. There's growth problems. There's certain facial features which are more characteristic of children who've been prenatally exposed to alcohol. And there's some central nervous system involvement. Now, that's what it takes to make the full-blown syndrome. But alcohol can affect the fetus in other ways. For example, we don't know if a woman drinks during pregnancy if the central nervous system involvement may be due to the fact that that child was prenatally exposed to alcohol, or if that child was going to have learning problems because it was something that was inherited. Again, there's many factors which come into play, and we don't know what we can attribute to alcohol and what we can't.
Okay, National Council on Alcoholism has all these facts
right.
that you guys have given to us, and I found some of these pretty interesting. When it talks about mental retardation, it doesn't necessarily have to go with fetal alcohol syndrome, but you stand a pretty good chance of having your kid pretty well messed up if you're drinking when you're pregnant, right?
The range of IQs in children who have been diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome range from 30 to 120. So that you don't necessarily have to be mentally retarded.
Same range with most of us, right?
That's right. You don't necessarily have to be mentally retarded in order to have the syndrome. However, you could have some learning disabilities. There could be behavior problems, or there could be sensory neural hearing loss or other types of central nervous system involvement.
How many people a year get fetal alcohol syndrome? What is it, 1 in 750 women?
There's a wide range, okay? The old estimates were approximately 1 in 750. The newer estimates of the incidence, the identification of new cases of fetal alcohol syndrome, is 1 in 1,500 at the present time.
Because this one said 1 in 750, so it's changed since they published this.
They've updated their incidence studies.
Well, then, is it really such a big problem?
1 in 1,500 children who have a condition that is totally preventable, I think, is a big problem.
Is it? I mean, I don't, how does that compare with other?
Like Down syndrome,
Yeah.
the incidence may be approximately 1 in 1,000. Fragile X syndrome, which is the most common cause of inherited mental retardation, is approximately 1 in 1,000.
How about kids who are in prison in relationship to adult males or females that end up going into prison in relationship to fetal alcohol syndrome? I've heard studies and people talk about the fact that a lot of people who are in our penitentiaries were subject to fetal alcohol syndrome.
You know, I hear that all the time, but that says a couple of things to me. First of all, children who have fetal alcohol syndrome, more or less over the past 15 years, have gotten more and more attention, but a lot of it has been negative attention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a very tragic thing because it's something that can be prevented, completely prevented. But let me answer your question,
Yeah.
okay? So people who are in our penitentiary system, why is it that they got into that system? Okay, were they not having good success in school? I mean, most of the people who are in our penitentiaries probably are not small for height and weight and head circumference. I mean, again, that's one of the characteristics that we look for in children who have fetal alcohol syndrome or adults who have fetal alcohol syndrome. It's not a condition that they grow out of. And again, there's certain facial features, and there's some sort of central nervous system involvement, and behavior problems can be considered central nervous system involvement. But there's lots and lots of other things that can cause behavior problems.
I mean, aren't our prison populations, aren't they generational? I mean, they're always related to drugs and alcohol, like 80% of the people who are in there are related, you know, have alcohol drug problems, and they come from families who have alcohol drug problems. So I think that's how they came up with the numbers on fetal alcohol syndrome.
But if you look at the incidence of alcoholism in our society, I mean, some of the quotes from the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, some of them range from 1 in 7 people to 1 in 9 people have a problem with alcoholism or other drugs. I mean, there's lots of people out in our community who have problems with alcoholism who are not in prison.
They're not in prison. That's because they haven't got caught. Because, I mean, there are numbers on felonies. They say, you know, the numbers of people is, what is it, 1 in 10 people who commit felonies get caught and go to prison. The other 9 are hanging out there, if you believe it. Okay, so, I mean, I don't know, are we agreeing or disagreeing? Are we getting along?
We're agreeing. We're agreeing that fetal alcohol syndrome is a very, very big problem.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not convinced. You have not, why is it a big problem? You have to tell me, because I'm not getting it.
Because
So-
it's one of the most common causes of mental retardation that is 100% preventable.
What percentage of people who have mental illness have fetal alcohol syndrome?
I can't answer that question. The studies haven't been done to look at what percentage of people have fetal alcohol syndrome.
What do we got? Someone's just handed a paper. What?
Oh, economic factors.
Go ahead. Oh, it's let's see, where were we? So we are. Let's see. So this is a woman's issue, isn't it?
No, it's not a woman's
Oh, it
issue.
isn't a woman's issue. Because I thought if women just didn't drink when you were pregnant, you could prevent fetal. Is it a man's issue?
Well, I think it's a family issue. It's a societal issue.
Oh, yeah.
I think if we look beyond the fact of women drinking during pregnancy.
It's like blaming women for getting pregnant, birth control, and all of that. It's like. You know what I'm talking about here? No, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right.
I'll say this again. It's a woman's issue, isn't it? I mean, aren't women ultimately responsible for, you know, what they do to their bodies when they're pregnant?
Well, I think you know a little bit more about the whole condition of alcoholism than I do. And
No, go ahead. Just assume that I don't.
Okay. All right.
No,
Where
because
did
they don't know that
Okay.
in this particular show.
All right. Okay, let me just say this.
Mm-hmm.
That people who are heavy drinkers or who abuse alcohol have a problem that where it is almost beyond their control. And you can say, yes, the woman is ultimately responsible for how much alcohol she drinks during pregnancy. However, if somebody has a problem, has the disease of alcoholism, and cannot control, has lost control over what they do in some ways, and that person does not go for help or cannot go for help or is refused help, as many pregnant women are who are alcoholic, then I think goes beyond that to become more of a societal issue. I mean, there is truly a lack of support services in our communities for women who are pregnant.
I've got a great idea for support. You make it a crime if you drink when you're pregnant. Let's just call it child abuse. And then if you're caught drinking when you're pregnant, you go to prison, where you get sober, and then you can have your baby in an alcohol-free environment. Good idea? He's looking at me with this look. No, but I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it would cut down on. I think it's a horrible thing.
You think what's a horrible thing?
Well, fetal alcohol.
Fetal
I think
alcohol
if people are
syndrome.
drinking when they're pregnant. Okay, my opinion is people are drinking and they're pregnant. It's child abuse as far as I'm concerned.
But you know,
they should be taken off the street, out of society.
There are obstetricians who will tell women that it's okay to have 1 or 2 drinks a night during pregnancy.
Well, are they like stupid if they say that? If an obstetrician, okay,
There are research articles that have actually come out that said if a woman is healthy and in good condition,
yeah.
that 1 to 2 drinks a night during pregnancy will not harm that child.
Well, yeah, that was written back in the 40s.
No, it wasn't. It was
Really?
it was just published in one of the pediatric journals about approximately 2 years ago.
Is that true? Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that
So
personally.
the people who wrote those are probably brain dead.
No, I don't agree.
That's okay. Come on, you can just walk right by. We don't care. Huh?
No, I don't think they're brain dead. I think they probably don't understand the disease of
Okay.
alcoholism.
That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that until we can understand the disease of alcoholism better, then it's not fair. I can't
Okay,
believe that it's fair to put all the responsibility on women.
Okay, so what we
because-
should do is we should look at the doctors who are watching this, obstetricians, that are saying, if you tell a woman that it's okay to drink while she's pregnant, you should have your head examined. You need to see another kind of doctor, right?
I think that each obstetrician has the responsibility to let a woman know what the risks are of drinking during pregnancy. But when
we have to shake these doctors up, don't we, and say, hey, cut it out? You know,
I think
it's like giving kids a little whiskey in their milk.
I think that
turn
what
your
we
kids
need
into
to do
alcoholics.
is maybe
This is
educate.
a small child here crawling on the floor in front of us. You should get this, Jonathan. You just missed it now.
I think what we need to
Open
do
up both eyes.
is educate our physicians, obstetricians, maybe to do more complete histories on drinking during pregnancy when they first become involved with a pregnant woman. And if there are any indications of high risk, maybe do some referral for more in-depth testing. And that's part of the training that we're putting together in our community right now, and we're working very closely with our obstetricians and with other pediatricians in terms of putting out packets that they can use when working with their women who are pregnant.
Okay, hang on here for a second, John.
We're right on
Training in progress.
Okay.
You might want to move to the side. Sorry.
And then should we? Oh, let's.
a minute, let me focus.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I guess the main points that I would like to get across are, and I'll repeat myself in saying that fetal alcohol syndrome is a condition that's 100% preventable. If a woman does not drink during pregnancy, she will not have a child with fetal alcohol syndrome. If a woman is in a family situation, which is often the case, where the father is also an alcoholic, it is so important, some way, that the family find a way to together be sober during pregnancy. It's almost one of those utopian kinds of concepts.
Well, what do they have to do?
First of all, we as a society, I guess, need to be able to feel more comfortable talking about problem drinking and asking for help. There are many resources, there are more resources than there have been in the past in the community to get women help during pregnancy if a woman does have problem drinking.
What about women who have been drinking through pregnancies and they want to have their kids examined? What's the best way to do that? Is that even an issue? Should we talk about it or not?
You mean once the child is born?
Yeah.
There are
Step over here one time. Okay, go ahead.
there are
Got it.
if any family is worried that a child that they have may have fetal alcohol syndrome or may have some other problems related to their child's difficulties with learning or behavior or growth, then that family should be encouraged to get their child evaluated. And if they're concerned about fetal alcohol syndrome, then they should mention that when they take their child in for an evaluation.
Do all pediatricians, do they know about fetal alcohol syndrome? Because I mean, you've just told me about some obstetricians who are telling women to have a few drinks while they're pregnant. I mean, how do you know then who's the right doctor to go to?
I think most pediatricians are familiar with fetal alcohol syndrome, but not all of the pediatricians are comfortable making the diagnosis of fetal alcohol syndrome. And there are resources within our community, clinics like here within Children's Hospital, whether it's going to be in the Department of Genetics or the Child Development Unit at Children's Hospital, that can actually...
I was trying to get you to get these kids as they were walking out.
Okay.
Okay, that actually have...
Could you also pan left and right?
Okay.
Which, go ahead and just give the information. Actually, stand right close to her. And then let her give that information, and then let's get
Okay, if a woman is drinking during pregnancy, there are a couple of places where she can call for information. One is the Special Connections Program, and that's sponsored through the Colorado Department of Health, Alcohol and Drug Abuse Division, and that phone number is area code 303-692-2930. The other place that people can call to get more information on fetal alcohol syndrome is our Kids in Need program at the Children's Hospital, and that number is area code 303-861-6037.
You need to let it run for about 10 seconds. Well, today we're at Children's Hospital, and we're going to go upstairs and talk to Dr. Nimick about fetal alcohol syndrome. They treat kids in this hospital whose mothers drank alcohol, and then they get brain deformities and face deformities. It's a real tragedy. It's a major cause of mental illness, and we're going to go up and jostle around with Dr. Nimick here in a few minutes, and because you know I have strong opinions on fetal alcohol syndrome, and so does she. This is a really important program for both doctors and for mothers and fathers about drinking while you're pregnant. I'm Jann Scott, and you're watching Jann Scott Tonight.